Hello, my name is Mike, and today I'm going to talk about the upgrades of transitioning from XML to JSON, um, how much space we could optimize as we transition from JSON to XML for the web services endpoint. Let's get started. Okay, so this is Postman. In Postman, what I'm going to show you is the what JSON looks like and what XML looks like for the same data. So this right here is the URL endpoint. The URL endpoint is going to hit end, a RESTful endpoint that will spit out some data. It'll always spit out the same data given the same input given the same endpoint. It will always spit out the same output. So here I'm going to send JSON in some headers, and when I hit send, I'm going to get JSON back. If I wanted XML, all I have to do is hit this XML, and I'll get XML. What you'll notice is that XML is a lot more verbose. The reason why XML is a lot more verbose is because XML contains metadata, this data right here, and XML always contain uh, opening tags and closing tags for all of its elements. You'll also notice that XML is a lot bigger in size. So this is XML size, 1,700 bytes. 1,700 bytes for XML. When I go with JSON, it has 800 bytes. JSON has 800 bytes. XML has 1,700 bytes. In this data point, JSON is 2 times less, 2 times, its size is 2 times less of that than XML in terms of space. Uh, you'll find that this will always be true, almost always be true. In this case, in all of the tests that I've done, it's always true. I'm sorry, it's always true. There's no situation where XML is more space efficient. There is no situation where XML is more optimized than JSON. JSON will always be more optimized in terms of space efficiency over XML, meaning that if we send JSON over the network, it will take up less space. If JSON is stored on the server, it will take up less disk space. If JSON is existing in RAM, it will take up less memory. JSON will always take up less space. Let's look at another endpoint. This is check available funds. This has 286 for JSON, and this has 925 bytes for XML. It holds up true. Let's find one where the payload, let's find one where the body is empty. In the search endpoint of JSON, this is JSON. Even though it's empty, uh, the JSON body still needs curly braces with nothing in it to show that it's JSON and it's empty. This still takes up 109 bytes. You can see 2 bytes right here. The reason why it has 2 bytes is because of these two curly braces. Two curly braces, two characters make up 2 bytes in the body. The headers make up the rest. The headers make up 107, giving us a total of 109 bytes. That's JSON, very small for an empty response body. Let's look at XML. XML takes up a lot of space, even though they're get even though it's the same amount of information and they're both empty. XML takes up a lot more space. All of this is metadata. all of this data is to support the XML body. It's to show metadata. It's to show the what character encoding you have, show what version of XML you have, show a bunch of other stuff that you might not need to know, but they're both showing that there's nothing inside the search. This body does not this does not exist in the database. And even though JSON and XML are showing the same output in terms of information, they're both showing nothing inside the body. XML takes up a lot more space than JSON. You remember JSON took 109 bytes? 109 bytes for an empty body? XML takes up 618 bytes for an empty body. So even though there's no body in the response, in the response, JSON um, has less has less has a less of a response size. This will always be true. I will show you in the Google Sheet. So this is the Google Sheet of a bunch of different services and endpoints that I've tested on. And you can see here in the first column of the endpoint or service that I was testing this on, all of them are JSON. So I've sent JSON requests, and I've gotten JSON as the response, and then XML as the response. So for all of them, I've tested for JSON as the request type. For response type, I've gotten JSON back and also gotten XML back, two for each service. You can see here that for the JSON of the same service is 824, while XML is twice as much. Twice as much, giving us the difference in size. So the size of XML minus the size of JSON, this will give you the difference of 898 bytes. 898 bytes. The percent smaller, it shows how much space you are saving between JSON and XML. So in this case, 824 divided by 1622 gives you around 52%. Okay. For check available funds, it's the same thing. You save space. It takes less space. It's more space efficient to use JSON. Same thing for search. Remember the empty one I showed you? In this case, it saves like a lot more space. But that's like that's when it's empty. It took the two curly braces was taking up 2 bytes, while the XML had a bunch of metadata that it had that was taking up most of the space inside inside the response body. So 517 to show empty data is pretty wasteful. All the data that I had was like support data, metadata, and just to show nothing. JSON, it takes 2 color braces to show nothing was found, saving us 82%, saving us 82% in space. And it ranges from 85%, like saving 85% in terms of space, to the lowest that we found was 23%. So that's like the lowest. There's probably possible to go even lower, but in the services I tested, the lowest so far is like 23% in space savings. Um, there does not seem to be a reason why you would ever use XML. Why would you ever use XML? The reason why you would use XML is because if you are already using XML, if you want to use XML to support legacy software, if you want to use XML to support older software, if you want to use XML for its metadata that you may or may not use, if you want to use XML for attributes, if you just like XML for its opening and closing tags, maybe. But if you want to save space, if you want to be optimal to save space, JSON seems to be the way to go. It'll save you data in transit between networks, between microservices. JSON will save you data in disk when it's saved as a file, and JSON will save you um, memory when it's in memory. JSON is the future. I want to say the future. JSON is becoming more popular, and JSON is awesome. JSON is actually a lot easier to parse compared to XML. XML you have to like marshal, you have to find a path in XML by looking at the children. JSON is more like key value pairs. You just use the key to get the value. XML is more like you have to find. Yeah, I can go on and on, but just for video, this video hopefully has shown you why JSON is more space efficient, how space efficient JSON really is, and how much optimal the web service can be. Thank you.